All right, welcome. So, this is another little older dream, but I was living in Seattle at the time. In Seattle. Cool pad. I really enjoyed living there. But then I felt like I did my time after a while. God bless Seattle anyway. Or save it, I should say. Anyhow, so this was an interesting dream because I've never seen anything like it. It's like it was late at night. No. I take that back. This one was early at night. The sun was down, but there's still a little bit of twilight up in the air. And the twilight, you could see just a little bit of it's twilight, but the sun was down, and I was on the beach somewhere. I may not have actually been in Seattle, but I was on the West Coast, and on the beach, it was kind of like a hill, almost like a dune that went down toward the water, and what that. Yeah. So if I looked up, my hand is going up. So if I look up the hill, it was just probably a good 50 feet higher up than I was, maybe 100. But it was a pretty decent little drop. But it was a dune. It wasn't like a cliff. So we were a little bit higher up than the water. And I used to live in California, so I remember back in those days, there would be patrol aircraft that would go back and forth down the coastline, making sure that nobody's drowning or there's no freaking sharks eating people, or I don't know what they were looking for, but there would be, patrol aircraft going back and forth. So I mean, it was dark, and so I don't know why they'd be having a patrol aircraft after dark, but we, meaning I don't know who, but whoever was with me, we were all getting ready to light a big bonfire. There's probably 30, 40 of us in a group, kind of close to a circle, but it was a big old fat circle. It wasn't like a little tight knit. It was going to be a bonfire, so I see this, what it looked like a patrol aircraft, like a light, cruising over the coastline. And so I didn't think anything of it until I saw that light kind of shoot, kind of like a falling star in a sense, but it just jumped like right in between where all of us were standing. And then it jumped like it was like had a bodily form. I was like, oh crap. So then I looked up behind us, and up on the ridge there, top of the sand, it was like, if you've seen the movie The Transformers. Now this dream was way before the Transformers. Granted, I did watch the cartoon when I was a kid, but it didn't look like the cartoons. But it was big, like one of the Transformers. And it had like a person face, like a regular human face. But these things are like 15 feet tall. And I remember the underneath part of it reminded me of like maybe like a F-15, like an F-15, fighter jet. But it didn't have the cockpit. It had a human head instead of having the front part of the jet, because it had like big wings that went across. It's weird. It was kind of like a jet, but not really, because it flew, but it had a human head instead of having the front end of it where the wings come out. And I was like, oh crap. And so then I woke up. It was kind of troubling, because I had never seen anything. I was like, man, just got up, went, sat on the couch, and I was drinking a cup of iced tea or something. I drink a lot of tea. So then I went back to bed, after sitting there for 15, 20 minutes, just tripping. So then I went back to sleep. Wouldn't you know it? It's like I had another dream, but in this next dream, I was in a car on I-5. Up in Seattle, they call it I-5. Down in California, they call it the 5. So I was on the 5, or I was on I-5 going south. And I was like, man, I had a group of guys in my car. Granted, I don't know who any of them were, but we were all friends apparently. And so this guy in my car in my dream, because it's like the morning time now, yeah, he's like, hey man, what was that we saw last night? I'm like, he's referencing a dream in a different dream. I'm like, now that's kind of strange. And I was like, man, I think it was angels. I actually think I was looking at like a long line of angels. He said, yeah, but what were they doing? I was like, well, they were staring to the west, which would be the east. If you go far enough west, you're in the east. So it's like, it seemed like they were standing guard actually. And then, so this dude's like, yeah, man, that's strange. And then after he said strange, I looked and I see a big rig blocking an on-ramp. Well, all the exits were blocked. You couldn't get off the freeway at that point. Every exit was blocked off. And there was a big rig trying to back out of the freeway, trying to get off. And it was having a hard time getting off. And I was like, oh crap, we got to get out of here. And I don't know who we were, like I say, but so end up kind of shooting down, finding a real forested area. Granted, this wasn't I-5 anymore. I don't know where the heck we were, but we drove for a bit, and we went, pulled over, pulled anything out of my truck, or I think it was an SUV, I think at the time. So I pulled anything out that might be of some value. I was like, we got to go. So we all got out of the truck and or the SUV and went hiking out with anything, tools, any rope, anything that we could use. And we hiked for a little bit, not too far away from the freeway. One of the dudes was like, hey man, there's a cave right here. We could hide out in here. I was like, no. They'll find us. Granted, I don't know who they are or were, but I had the sense that we got to go. We got to get away from where somebody can find us. So then I just, we just kept going. But, then I woke up. I think that, again, it's one of these things where we were gathered together to start with in the very first one, and didn't see all the action that was going on around us until I noticed that there was a freaking line of big old angelic type beings. They weren't concerned with us at all. They were looking out toward the east, or the west, I should say, out west toward the east. And sorry if you're a flat earther, that doesn't fit with your scenario, but live with it. It's for the point. Anyway, something coming from that direction. And the next thing I'm like waking up, and then the next dream I have, it seemed like the freeway, there's only one direction, and you can't get out. You're stuck. And even the big rigs were blocking things, and you couldn't go away. So I figured we had to get out of there and go hide from whoever it was that was going to come after us. And it was okay because we were doing it together. So when I woke up from that one, I had this really overwhelming sense, like, I should have like a box of tools, of things that would be handy if I ever had to just ditch. And that, since then I've heard people talk about bug out bags and all this stuff. I'm not really all that worried about stuff, but it's not a bad idea to be smart about things. But anyway, interesting, eh?